Wednesday, August 26, 2026. You are listening to the Daly Dose Sports Podcast, and I am your host, Clint Daly, coming to you from Mile High City here in Denver, Colorado. And we are back for another week of talking sports with a dose of common sense. Hey, happy Wednesday to you. I hope your week is going well. I hope you, your family, your friends, everyone in your world is staying strong and healthy right now. We are happy to have you here with us today. And hey, the most wonderful time of the year is nearly upon us. Because do not forget that we have real, live college football games beginning this Saturday. It's not a huge lineup, but at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, we get Texas Christian facing Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels in Dublin, Ireland. Okay, that's not bad. At 1 p.m., we get number 14 USC hosting San Jose State. I might have to watch some of that. At 1:30 p.m., the North Carolina State Wolfpack go to Virginia to face the Cavaliers in an early ACC matchup. At 5 p.m., Hawaii goes to Stanford. Now, that doesn't sound great, but I'm going to call it now. Hawaii just might be a little bit of a sleeper this year. And at 8 p.m. on Saturday night, Memphis goes to UNLV in Vegas, which actually might be maybe the most competitive game of the day. Now, like I said, is it a blockbuster Saturday? Not even close. But is it real live football? Yes. And I'm telling you right now, it can't get here soon enough. Hey, today on The Dose, I have got a jam-packed show for you today and a very special guest that is going to be joining us. In fact, we have so much to get to today. We need to jump into our 2026 Daily Dose College Football Preview with Big Rob right now. Joining us right now on the Daily Dose, a longtime friend of the show, West Virginia Mountaineer, and of course the acting president of the Daily Dose I-Team that finds the stories no one else can find. Big Rob is here to help us break down that 2026 college football season and see exactly what we should be expecting for the remainder of the year. Rob, I know college football has some really weird aspects to it. I know there's some stuff that we both kind of look at and we don't like. And also, we're going to have some really good teams and some really fun games this year, aren't we?
We are, yeah. They're trying to mess it up. They're trying, but they haven't yet. But like you said, despite all the chaos that's going on, I think we're going to have some really good games. And those last few weeks of the season are going to be exciting like they usually are.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, we're going down the schedule. We're kind of looking at the schedule and looking ahead. And I'm going, oh, my goodness, some of these games I can't wait for. There are going to be some amazing games. We have a chance to legitimately maybe have our best playoff field because we've kind of eliminated some of the, hey, you got to get a bid just because you're a little conference, whatever. No, let's put the best of the best in. Doesn't that make more sense?
I think so, too. And like you said, they got rid of if you win the conference, it's an automatic top 4 spot. Now it's just going to be the rankings. So like you said, you really get a true, these are the top, 1 through 12. It probably gets a little shaky as we get towards the end, but those first, 6, 7 teams are legit going to be, top contenders, regardless of if they come from the same conference or not.
Definitely. Of course, the Indiana Hoosiers won their first national championship in school history last year. They dominated the rest of the field as Curt Cignetti, he's kind of a jerk, but he's really good, but he delivers the Big Ten Conference, their third title in a row. Rob, has the Big Ten now passed the SEC since everyone can now pay the players?
That's a tricky one. I know we'll get into it. I still think, personally, the SEC is the deepest conference.
I do too.
But again, you can make the case now that everyone can pay everyone. They are on a bit of a drought.
Yeah, I would agree with you, and I would say the same thing. I think the SEC top to bottom still has the most depth, still has the most top-end talent. I think it's right there. We'll see. And, I wouldn't be surprised as much chirping is going on about the SEC being down if the SEC somehow comes through and actually wins one this year. Rob, we've once again seen coaches, players just jumping all over the place. There are no rules right now. It's the Wild West. This can't last, can it?
I don't think so. Like you said, with the NIL and just, paying players. And like you said, now it's just used to be, a player can up and leave, a coach can leave. But now we have coaches leaving, taking 20 players with them. So that's a couple, I'm sure we'll get into that, but you got a couple teams like Virginia Tech, for example, where the coach leaves, takes half the team with him, half the staff. So, yeah, just a lot going on right now.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to eventually kind of bottom out in a way. Rich people don't like their money being taken from them, and I think that's going to end up being a problem. Rob, let's go ahead and jump into our conference previews, and let's start in that Atlantic Coast Conference. I think all of us have kind of forgotten that the Duke Blue Devils actually won the conference because it was the Miami Hurricanes that went all the way to the national championship game. But Rob, let's take a look at that ACC. Before we name our champion, do you have any contenders in the ACC that you like?
I do. I've got 3, I'm going to say, honorable mentions, and then I have 3 real contenders.
Okay, what do you got?
First honorable mention, I just want to mention, not a full contender, FSU. I think they're going to struggle. I think Norvell, that buyout is $50 million, and I know they don't want to pay it, even though they have deep pockets down there. It's a tough schedule: Alabama, Miami, Clemson, Florida in there too. So I just don't think he gets it done. But that's just going to be a good team to watch. Like I said, I think they'll be better, but because of that schedule, I don't know if he's going to make it out.
I don't either. And that schedule is so tough, and that seat is getting hot. And one thing, and we'll talk about it as we go through the day-to-day, expectations change everything for your coach, for your players, for everything. And expectations in FSU, hey, it's win or else. That might not go well. Who else do you have as an honorable mention?
Another honorable mention, I just mentioned them actually, Virginia Tech. Interested, like I said, James Franklin taking over, took a bunch of people with him. They actually did pretty good work in the portal. This is another one, though, where that schedule is kind of tough. But again, Franklin, I still think is a good coach. He wins the games he's supposed to. It's just that upper echelon where he has trouble. So I don't think they're there right away, but I do think an improvement. I think that's a team I'm interested to watch this season. I
am too. And I don't want to say James Franklin got a bad rap not being able to win big games, because you got to be in the big games to not be able to win the big games. And somehow he's getting him there. Did he always come through? No. Is he a great recruiter? Yes. Is he a very good coach? Yes, I think he is. And I think he's going to upgrade Virginia Tech for sure. Who else you got, Rob?
And my last honorable mention here before we get into a real contender, and they were right on the line for me, was Clemson.
Yeah.
Have kind of fallen off from their heyday here. A lot of it was, Dabo refusing to get in the portal. I think the year before he took 3 people out the portal. This year it was 11, but I still don't think that's enough there. So maybe a little bit better, but that's just a team, I think still going in the wrong direction.
Well, and he always had that defense up to par, and now that defense has kind of slipped. He should have a good defense this year, but he's got to find a new quarterback. He's got to find an offense. I think he's worth a mention. I want to keep an eye on Clemson, but I'm right there with you. I don't think they're ready for prime time. All right, let's get into the more serious stuff. Who are the contenders? Who do you got?
Contenders. First one I'm going to give you is NC State. And this is a schedule play here. They missed Miami, Clemson, Pitt, SMU. They've been pretty solid, the last couple seasons. But this is mainly a schedule play. They avoid all the big boys, so I think they can end up in there like a 10-2, 9-3 kind of season. So just because of that schedule, they're a contender for me.
I would agree with that. And he's done a very good job at NC State. Can he come out and find enough people? Hey, you're going to be favored to win almost all your games, aren't you? So go out there and achieve what you should achieve. All right, Rob, I've got 2 contenders here, and I won't be surprised if, as we usually do, we have the same ones. Give me your next contender.
Next contender for me is SMU.
Yep.
Coach there, Rhett Lashley, 38-16 at SMU. This is a team, again, hasn't, playoff team. I think they're right there. So like I said, right on the edge. I don't think they take the conference, but again, this has just been a solid ACC program. So I think they're going to be in the mix again for this ACC title. Yeah,
I do too. I really like quarterback Kevin Jennings. The question for me is, can he stay healthy? And that hasn't always been the case with him. Remember, SMU beat Miami last year, but then they slip up against teams like Cal and Baylor when their defenses didn't show up. Can you have enough defense? I don't know, and I guess that's why I would kind of put them as a contender, not a champion. I'm right there with you, though. I have SMU on my contender. So who is your next contender?
My number 1 contender is Louisville this year.
Yep.
Jeff Brom came back in 23, 10 wins, 9 wins, 9 wins, and another scheduled play here. They avoid both Miami and Clemson. So again, I think this is a team that when it comes down to the end is probably going to be playing for the title here. So this Louisville is my number one contender.
Louisville's going to be really interesting to watch because the schedule works out nicely for them, but it opens up difficult for them. You've got Ole Miss, that's not going to be easy, and you got SMU early. After that, you're going to skate. Can you start off the season hot? Like you said, Jeff Brom has done a really good job there. Can he get them off to a strong start? I agree with you 100%, which means we're, of course, going to have the same champion. Rob, who do you got as your champion?
Miami Hurricanes. Again, like you mentioned before, didn't actually win the conference last year. Of note, I hope they got their tiebreaker figured out. I heard that they did.
Maybe.
That was a mess in itself.
That was bad.
Last year. But again, really, Clemson and Notre Dame are going to be their big test. Outside of that, they should be fine. But still, Cristobal still kind of loses one that he shouldn't. So, you know, that's in the mix there somewhere. But at the end of the day, I got them in the ACC title game and actually winning it this year.
Yeah, I'm in the same way. They are loaded. They bring in Duke transfer quarterback Darian Mensah. They still have a few explosive playmakers, especially Malachi Toney, who might be one of the most explosive playmakers in the country. Like you said, the schedule is friendly. They've got cupcakes well into October, and then they get Clemson, a test, but not a big dog test. And then, like you said, they go to South Bend in November. That's going to be the big test. That's basically going to be a playoff game, but Miami should cruise. I do think they're going to have to figure out their offensive and defensive lines because they did lose a lot of people, but with that cushy schedule, they've got plenty of time to do that. I think Miami is a lock to be in that ACC title game, and I think they're actually a lock for the college football playoff, which we will get to a little bit later. We jump to the Big 12, where last season, the Texas Tech Red Raiders rolled to the title as they beat BYU in that championship game. And Texas Tech was the only Big 12 team to qualify for the playoff. Tech was then beaten like a drum in their playoff game by Oregon. Can the Big 12 be a little bit stronger this year? Rob, how many contenders and honorable mentions do you have?
Of the Power Four, I think this is the weakest of them all, in my opinion.
I would agree.
I've got one honorable mention, 2 contenders, and then my champion.
Okay, I've got an honorable mention here as well. Who is your honorable mention?
I always bring them up. Colorado.
Really?
Yes, just honorable mention.
Wow.
Again, I'm a Prime fan. 4-8 that first season, and the second season obviously was a lot better. And then it turned for the worse again. But I think he did better recruiting, tried to address the defense, which was, I think, was their biggest problem. So I got them like a 8-4-ish, I think. I think they're going to be on an upswing again, not competing, in the end. But I think this is an upswing for Colorado. Not sure how much it lasts. And like I said, a lot of that initial awe has, seemed to wear off. So I think it turns up a little bit here in the right direction. Like I said, not fully competing, but better than last season.
Look at Rob. Look at Rob coming around on Colorado. Rob, I'm going to go the other way on Colorado. I saw their spring game. I thought it was a middle school game. I didn't know. They are the tiniest school I have seen for a Division I Big 12 program. I had no idea. They were so little. I'm going to be fascinated to watch. Hey, you want to talk about a team I'm interested to watch? I want to watch Colorado because if they do win, hey, he's paying for things without money. I don't know how he's doing it because they are so tiny. I'm fascinated to see him. I've got an honorable mention as well, and I'm going to preface it by saying this. I am sober, but I'm going to name Oklahoma State as a contender. Hey, the Cowboys were horrible last year. They went out, they spent some serious money. They brought in Eric Morris, who is coaching pro ball in Canada to replace Mike Gundy. Crazy Gundy. I'm 40! Morris went nuts in the portal. He brought in a ton of talent. Now, are they going to have to bring everything together and figure it? You can't just throw people in a room and expect them to be good. No, but they're going to be better is my biggest thing. And they might actually be interesting to watch. They need to beat Tulane in that opener because Oregon is going to beat the absolute dog out of them in week 2. But after that, the schedule gets a little bit lighter and the Cowboys could at least have a respectable season, which they haven't had in quite some time. All right, Rob, but let's get to contenders. I have 3 contenders. What do you have?
I've got 2 contenders. First one I'll give you is Houston for me.
Yeah.
Willie Fritz, that's a good coach right there. It's a team on the upswing. I like what they did on the defensive side of the ball. Connor Wegman, not ideal. We'll see how that goes. But this is a team, like I said, Willie Fritz, that's a good coach right there, and I expect them to be in the mix at the end.
Yeah, I mean, they went 10-3 last year. They beat LSU in that Texas Bowl. They're a good program. He's really got them going, and they returned 10 starters from that team. We'll see how they do. They can win this conference. They can play their way into the college football playoff if they do. So, yeah, I'm right there with you with Houston. I'm going to throw out one contender. I swear, Rob, I know better than this. I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to mention the Arizona Wildcats, and I'm going to do it because quarterback Noah Fafita is legitimately Heisman talented. I'm not going to say he's going to do it, but he is that talented. Last year, they went 9-4. They lost to SMU in the Holiday Bowl. I think they can be as good or better this year. The schedule is going to be a little bit difficult because they've got to go on the road against a couple of top teams, but I'm at least going to mention Arizona. All right, we each have one contender left. Will it be the same one? Rob, who's your final contender?
My number one contender is BYU.
Yep, same.
They return a lot. The schedule gets a little bit tougher, but again, the coach stayed, and they quietly have some resources up there. They're spending money up there in Utah. And like I said, schedule is a little bit tougher, but manageable. So I feel like they're going to be in the mix right down, those last couple weeks again, like they were last year. So
I do too.
My number one contender.
I look at them, and they've got quarterback Bear Bachmeier, and he's back for another season. He's a dual threat guy. He can hurt you a lot of different ways. The Cougars return most all of that defense, and that may end up being the key for them. Remember, they will host Notre Dame in October. That could be very, very interesting. You somehow pull out a win there, look out. Which means, Rob, of course, we're probably going to both have that same champion in the Big 12, the one that is spending like no other, right?
Yeah, almost by default. But yeah, Texas Tech, for that point you mentioned, they have deep pockets there, returning 15 starters, and this schedule is pretty soft.
Yeah.
I would like them better if Sorsby was there. But even despite that, like I said, I think Texas Tech is still the top of this division.
Yeah, and let's talk about Brandon Sorsby, because Brandon Sorsby had the unmitigated gall to try to sue to return to college football after betting on his own teams. I don't know who this boy's parents are, but you're failing. Let's get that on the table. But yes, Tech returns 10 starters from a team that went 12-2, won a conference, went to the college football playoff. They should be able to do that again. They might be better this year. And maybe they're better off without Sorsby because they just don't have the distraction. I don't know. Like I said, they're spending like no other. Well, Rob, we've hit 2 conferences. We've gone 2 for 2. This is not uncommon for us, but we're doing it again. Let's jump into that Big Ten, who has now, like I said, won 3 national championships in a row. Last season, the conference sent 3 teams to the college football playoff. They might be even deeper this year. Every year, we get Ohio State, we get Oregon, we get Michigan in this conversation. Can we get someone else? Can someone else step into the fray? I don't know, but I've got a few contenders here. I've got one honorable mention. I've got an honorable mention, and I've got 1, 2, 3 contenders. What do you got, Rob?
Same for me. 1 honorable mention, 3 contenders, and then my champion.
Yep. Who's your honorable mention?
First honorable mention is USC. 14 returning starters. They had the number 1 recruiting class. This is probably the best team that Lincoln Riley's had. I think he's right in the middle of that contract. This is year 5 of 10. Defense is always a problem for Lincoln Riley teams.
Yes.
So hopefully if that got a little better, the schedule is tough. But again, I don't think they have enough to get over the hump. But so like I said, that's why it's just an honorable mention to me. Keep an eye on. If that defense is better, again, I think the offense is going to be good. But I think the defense ultimately lets them down again.
If Lincoln Riley is ever going to do something, like this kind of has to be the year, doesn't it? Like you said, he's bringing in his most talent. The schedule is a little bit tough, but it's manageable, especially early. Everything's at home. Even their toughest opponents will be at home. They're going to have a chance to go out and do something. But yeah, I've actually got USC as a contender, but it's basically kind of like prove it. Go do something because you've been there before. We haven't seen anything. Like you said, the defense never, ever steps up. I'm going to name my honorable mention, and I'm going to name the Michigan Wolverines because quarterback Bryce Underwood is just a physical freak. I think he will be much better utilized in a better situation with new head coach Kyle Whittingham, who comes over after 20 plus years at Utah. The schedule is tough, though. The schedule might just be too much for them. They've got an early game against Oklahoma. They've got road games against Oregon. And of course, they have Ohio State. I think that might be a lot for Michigan. But I think, hey, Kyle Whittingham's a really, really good football coach. He's going to make them better eventually, but it's going to take some time. So I'll put Michigan as an honorable mention. Rob, we both have our honorables up. I have USC as a contender. Who's your contender?
Number 3 contender for me is Penn State.
Okay.
Matt Campbell comes over from Iowa State.
Yeah.
This is another schedule play. They avoid Ohio State, Oregon, and Indiana. And again, this is kind of like a Virginia Tech situation where the coach came over, 10 of his assistants, 20-some-odd players. So it's basically Iowa State now in the Big Ten.
Yep.
And like I said, they avoid the Big Three in this conference. So for me, like I said, they're a contender just because of that schedule. I think they might hit the ground running and rack up some wins here.
Well, and they definitely can. And you mentioned the schedule, but they also bring over a quarterback that he's been working with for the past 2-3 years, and Rocco Beck, who should come over and not have that learning curve that so many kids have on a new coach, because he doesn't have a new coach. He's got the same coach he's had for the last few years. Yeah, I could totally see them coming out not being maybe legit, but going out and racking up wins and going, holy cow, they're right now in a playoff position.
Playoffs?
Yeah, so that could easily happen. I will give you that as well. All right, Rob, I have 2 contenders and my champion. You have 2 contenders and a champion?
Yes.
Let's have your next contender.
My number 2 contender is Indiana.
That's mine too.
They keep the staff intact. They lost a lot, but again, this is just Cignetti, like you mentioned, good coach, 27-2 in 2 years. Josh Hoover, QB transfer from TCU, currently the active leader in passing yards and TDs. I know he has been turnover prone, but I think in this system, better coaching, he doesn't have to do as much. Schedule worries me a little bit. I think we do get like a little bit of a downgrade, but again, Indiana, I think they're going to be contending, and right there, the drop-off is going to be small.
Yeah, I would agree with everything you said there. Hoover comes over. He's going to be a much more experienced guy, and he's a guy that's going to really benefit from playing in Cignetti's system. He could end up being more talented than Mendoza was, and we saw what Mendoza did. The early going is very easy for Indiana. They're going to rack up win after win. They've got a number of cupcakes, and then it's going to get challenging. But like you said, I could see them going to the Big Ten title game. I could see them playing their way into the playoff very, very easily. Indiana has all the capability of going in, at least contending for another championship. Well, now it's going to get interesting. I've got 1 contender left. You've got 1 contender left. And then we have our champion. All right, Rob, let's have your final contender. We've matched up so far. How are we doing here?
My number 1 contender is Oregon.
Oh, we flipped them, but we have the same teams. I know we have the same teams. Okay. You've got Oregon as a contender. They're going to be good. What do you got? How do you have Oregon as a contender?
Yeah, Dan Lanning, 48-8 since he's been there. They're returning 60% of their production. QB's back. And again, this is just kind of those unfinished business kind of stories. I think they're going to be in the mix. Like I said, I think they're going to lose to Ohio State during the regular season. I think they're going to meet again in the final, and they're going to lose again to Ohio State.
Okay.
But that's it. They're running the table. They just can't get past Ohio State. So like I said, in the title game, ends up losing to Ohio State twice. But yeah, again, this is a very good team.
Yeah, and
for sure.
I've got Oregon as my champion, but I went back and forth with them and Ohio State, as I know you did. They bring back, like you said, quarterback Dante Moore. He needs to show up better in big games. In big games, he didn't really, prove to be that much, especially in the playoff game. Holy cow, he kind of disappeared. I'll say this, that defensive line of Oregon, they're going to be a problem for a lot of teams. They're going to get a tough early test against Boise State. And then, like you said, USC, Illinois, Ohio State. Hey, but you know what? No excuses this year. Oregon, if you're going to do something, go do something. Here is your opportunity. They are my champion. My last contender is going to be Rob's champion. And Rob, that is the Ohio State Buckeyes. And holy cow, they are loaded, aren't they?
Loaded, like you said, top 5 recruiting class once again. They now have 2 NFL coordinators. Matt Patricia was there last year, and they added Arthur Smith this year. Schedule is a little tougher, but again, just that talent is there, and I think they just have enough to get it done. Like I said, they've got Oregon's number. twice this year. So that's going to be my champion.
Hey, quarterback Julian Sayin should be better than he was. Jeremiah Smith might be the best player in the country. And Rob, I'll be honest, he might be the best receiver I've seen since like Larry Fitzgerald. That kid has every single tool. The only reason I didn't take Ohio State is, like you mentioned, that schedule. At Texas, at Indiana, at USC, and Michigan to close the season. But hey, if they get through that with just like a loss or something, yeah, they're going to be right there. They are in contention for a Big Ten title, for a college football playoff title. I have them going to that college football playoff for sure. All right, Rob. We switched things up just a little bit in the Big Ten, but we really didn't come up that differently I don't know how we do this, Rob. We don't compare notes. It just always happens. But now let's jump up to the big dog. The SEC is on a bit of a cold streak lately. Don't throw dirt on them just yet. I'm telling you, the Southeastern Conference still had 5 teams qualify last year for the playoff. Rob, the talent and depth this year is going to be there again. We might be here a minute, Rob. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 contenders, and then my champion. What do you have?
Yeah, this was, again, by far, I think the deepest conference of them all. I've got 6 honorable mentions, 3 actual contenders, and then my champion.
Okay, well, let's jump into some of your honorable mentions, because I guarantee they're going to be some of my contenders. What do you have?
Yeah, first team I want to talk about is your Florida Gator.
Oh, goodness, you're way too kind.
Honorable mention, again, John Summerall. I think you got the right guy.
Might.
He was at Troy, 15-20. Before he got there, when he left, 23-5, 2 Sun Belt titles. Tulane, 20 wins in 2 seasons. So I think it's the right guy. Hopefully, you and the fan base can be patient because this is the SEC.
No chance.
So that so that turnaround's not going to happen fast. But I think if you stick with him, this is obviously a good coach. So again, maybe a good upset here or there. But again, just a team to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I think they are a team to keep an eye on, and I think that maybe he's a guy that comes out and surprises a few people that didn't really expect much from Florida this year. He'll have the fan support for now. We'll see if he can hold on to it. All right, Rob. Next honorable mention. Who do you got?
Next one is going to be Auburn.
Okay.
It's another situation. Alex Golish, QB Byron Brown from South Florida. And again, they basically brought the offense with them. The schedule is tough, though. They got Georgia, LSU, and Alabama. But again, this is another one where I think you got a good coach, the right hire. If the fan base can be somewhat patient, I think they got the right guy. Maybe you get an upset this season, but just another team to keep an eye on.
I would agree with that 100%. And the only reason I didn't have him as a contender, because I'm being very, very kind on my contenders, is because, like you said, schedule's very, very tough. But I think Auburn's going to be on the rise. They're going to be improving for sure. Next honorable mention goes to
Ole Miss. Returns 16 starters. The schedule is tough, but there's just too many questions. I know last season, after Lane left, they took over, and it was still kind of Lane's team, though, right? And you just had the emotion along with that. But now, you're the guy in charge. Chambliss is still there. Running back's still there. So they're going to be decent. But like I said, with that schedule and a new coach, new team, I think just want to mention them. Like I said, I don't think they'll be in the mix. A couple good wins maybe early, but I think the schedule is going to be too much.
Yeah, I do too. And I think the defense is going to have a tough time getting up to speed with where they need to be. Like you mentioned, quarterback Trinidad Chambliss is back for his, I think, 38th year. I don't know. He's back again. He's been there for quite a while. But hey, he's going to find a way to score some points. Can the defense keep up? I don't know. But Rob, I cannot wait to see LSU go to Ole Miss.
Oh, yeah.
That is going to be must-see TV. I had Ole Miss as a mention as a contender, so we're still on the same page. Give me your next honorable mention.
Next honorable mention, Tennessee for me. Heupel teams average 31 points a game. They have a freshman quarterback, so that's why I'm, their honorable mention for me. But plenty of talent, wide receivers, running backs. Listen, the defense usually lets them down. So again, this is a team, like I said, that can score. Expect them to be in some shootouts, but not enough to actually contend.
Well, and Josh Heupel kind of took a step back last year. That team, there were some expectations after, going out and have such a good year the previous year. They take a bit of a step back. I feel like he's going to have them rallying again this year. I'm right there with you. I have Tennessee as a team that definitely deserves a mention. All right, Rob, we're coming down to it. Give me your next honorable mention.
Yeah, 2 more honorable mentions. I'm going to give you Texas A&M. Elko's a good coach. They
Yes,
have
he is.
talent there, but the schedule is terrible. Their schedule is terrible. So again, this is a good team, like an 8-4 kind of season. Like I said, competitive, but not ultimately in the mix. Like I said, just because of that schedule.
Well, and quarterback Marcel Reed is back, but he lost most of his offensive line. The problem that I have them as a mention, a contender as well, is you've got games LSU, Alabama, Oklahoma, and they're very, very early. So it's not like that offensive line gets a chance to kind of get their feet under them. They're going to get hit in the mouth. I could see A&M start off and be like, 2-3 or 4, and then kind of get rolling and be like, okay, that was a respectable year. But because that schedule is so tough, because of their losses, I think A&M does take a step back. But I'm right there with you. I have A&M as a team to watch too. All right, you've got one more honorable mention, Rob?
Yes, one more, and this is borderline contender. LSU for me. Deep pockets. This is the best transfer class in the country. But again, this is another schedule problem. That Ole Miss game that you mentioned, and then they go Texas A&M after that. Then down the stretch, they go Auburn, Bama, Texas, and Tennessee.
Oof.
All in a row. So just, again, plenty of talent there. Lane is a good coach, but can you just bring all that together? Like I said, no breaks in the schedule, no slow starts. So I think they'll kind of be in the mix, but like I said, because of that schedule, I don't have them as an actual contender here.
I agree with you. They bring in Arizona State quarterback transfer Sam Levitt. He should benefit for playing under Lane. They have tight end Trey'Dez Green, who seriously might be a first-round kind of pick. He's that good. I'm really glad you brought up something. Shows how wise Rob is. He brings up the Ole Miss game, but following that is that A&M game. You get all hyped up. You got Ole Miss. Well, yeah, you want to beat us. We're going to beat you, blah, 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 blah. And then A&M kicks your teeth in the next week. Don't be surprised by that one single bit. Here's the problem I have for Lane. That all-star team he has assembled, which is what it is, they don't have a ton of depth. So you've got great talent on the front end. You've got some great starters. They're going to start fast and hot and play well. And as they come down the stretch and they're playing some of their talented teams that Rob just mentioned, you're starting to slip up. You're starting to lose people. You're starting to feel, the attrition of the year. And pretty soon LSU is losing 3-4 games. So I'm right there with you again. And I'm seeing LSU start strong, start fast, look impressive, and then fade as it goes down the stretch. All right, Rob, I've got a contender that I don't know if you have. I don't know if I should put him on here. I have no faith in their head coach, but South Carolina has some serious talent. Quarterback Lenore Sellers, he's got some help. Why weren't they better last year? They went 4-8 last year. I don't understand it. Hey, do something this year, or Beamer is going to be gone by Thanksgiving. I'll just say that. That is the one mention I will have out there. All right, Rob, it's getting serious.
Yeah,
got a contender for us?
Yeah, 3 contenders for you. My number 3 contender here and my sleeper of the SEC is going to be Oklahoma. Very good defense. John Mateer is going to be the question in the offense. He was good. Then he got hurt his hand. I think he tried to when he came back, I think he was still hurt.
Agreed.
So his play, was way worse than before he got hurt. But I think if he stays healthy, again, the defense is always going to be good. But I think if he can still stay healthy and they can get a better running game going, they could be in the mix. Like I said, the schedule is tough. But again, I'm banking on Mateer being back and healthy, the offense being better. So I have them contending in the SEC.
Rob, early last year, John Mateer legit looked like the best quarterback in the country. He was that good. Brent Venables got his defense back on track. Oklahoma, they're my sleeper team in the SEC too. I think they're going to be really, really tough. The issue for Oklahoma is going to be that tough schedule, especially early. You've got Michigan, you've got Georgia. But if you can show well in those, they might have their best team they've had since joining the SEC, and that's going to be very, very interesting to watch. All right, so I've got Oklahoma as a contender. Who's your next contender?
My number 2 contender is Alabama.
Yep.
7 starters back on defense. They're going to need better QB play, so that's the part I'm a little bit concerned on. But the good schedule, they know Texas or Ole Miss, and they get Georgia and A&M at home. So the big thing for me is, like I said, quarterback play. Like I said, we'll see who it ends up being. But like I said, if they can get solid quarterback play, a little more balanced on the offense, because they really couldn't run the ball last year either. So I think, again, similar to Oklahoma, if we get a good QB play, balanced running game, I think the defense is going to be good again, so I have them contending as well.
Yeah, I've got Alabama as a contender. The problem for me with Alabama is I feel like they make too many mistakes. They just make dumb, silly, stupid penalties, that kind of thing. They couldn't run the ball effectively. That has to be better. When they ran into Indiana last year, Rob, they got the doors blown off of them. That wasn't even close. I think Alabama has to get better on both sides of the ball at the point of attack. And I'm not convinced that head coach Caitlin DeBoer is the guy to do that. But I will say this. There's a lot of Alabama fans that have no idea this is how the rest of the country works. Welcome to it. You're not always just the number one team, and that's fine. I have Alabama as a contender as well. I have one more contender and my champion, Rob. What do you have as your final contender?
Final contender for me is Texas.
Yep, same.
16 starters back. They just had issues with the O-line, and they tried to address that. We'll see if it works out. This is a tough schedule, but plenty of talents there. And then again, Arch Manning, probably unfair, just the hype around him early because of his last name. But I think he actually is a good quarterback. So like I said, I think Texas is going to be in contention.
I do too. I've got them as well. And a lot of the judgment on Arch Manning last year was so early. This kid is just trying to figure things out. But when you look at what he did down the stretch, he was beating ranked teams. He was putting up big numbers. He's really dangerous. And I'll be honest, he wasn't getting a ton of help from his receivers. They led the nation, I think, in drop balls. He's back this year and he's got more help. Steve Sarkisian, he's got to figure out a way to get that run game on track. And he didn't always do that last year. That would help Arch. That would help that defense. That defense should be really, really good, though. They are capable of winning the SEC. They're capable of winning the championship. They're capable of winning up. They're that good. Texas could be very, very good. They're my final contender as well, which means, Rob, that once again, we are going to have the exact same champion, and that is those Georgia Bulldogs, isn't it?
Yep, Georgia Bulldogs, 14 starters back. And a big one for this, very manageable schedule.
Yes.
For an SEC schedule, pretty light. Again, I know it's the SEC, but yeah, very manageable schedule. Defense wasn't that good last year or wasn't as good, so I think they'll be better. Offense, I think, will be fine. But like I said, because of the schedule here, this is going to be my champion.
Yeah, I've got them as my champion as well. And, it's kind of funny because you look at Kirby Smart, guy's got 117 and 21 in Athens, and people are like, what's wrong with Georgia? Like, Mark, really? Really? Is that what it is? Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think the defense is actually going to be much, much better this year. I want to see Gunnar Stockton actually make some big plays and throw the ball down the field. He is the king right now of check down and just throwing the short one. If he starts to attack some people downfield, and he needs some help to be able to do that. But if that's the case, Georgia is going to be very, very tough. All right, Rob, got any independents that might be out there? Any group of 5 teams you might want to discuss? Because I've got one independent and one group of 5, and you probably know both of them.
Well, I know the independent. I'm sure it's the same as mine. Notre Dame.
Yep.
And again, but like I said, I don't know if we have to mention them. I know we're going to get to our playoffs, but I think they signed a deal that they automatically get in the playoffs.
Yeah,
so.
I think if they just play, if they field a team, they're in. I don't know why people hate Notre Dame. That's so weird. God. Yeah, they literally added a rule that if they finish in the top 12, they have to get in. What if they just get to the stadium? Do you have to put them in? Is that... Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's really, really weird. Notre Dame, they never get favoritism. Idiots. No, but and having said that, Marcus Freeman has done an incredible job. Rob, he's don't get me wrong, we still both hate Notre Dame. He's kind of got us to not hate him as much, though, just because of him.
I agree. Yeah, it's still Notre Dame, but we give him a slight pass. We hate them less. Root against them. Yeah, we don't actively root against them.
I've got a group of 5 team that I will mention. Do you have any group of 5s you want to mention?
Yeah, I've got one. And this is I know we're about to get into the playoffs, but this is going to be the best of the group 5. James Madison for me. Down in the Sun Belt. Again, I know this is a team that quietly has NL money and resources. They routinely lose coaches and players after that first year, but just the talent that they always seem to bring is in there. Again, Sun Belt Conference, and because of that NL money and the resources, they just spend more than anyone in the Sun Belt. And so because of that, I think they have, again, not a great season, but this is going to be the group of 5 champion with the highest rating that gets them into the playoffs. It's a little preview.
I would totally see that as well. They are spending money, and they have been. They've got a track record of doing it. I'm going to mention a team that is going to be in a brand new conference this year, and that is the Boise State Broncos, who should be the absolute class of the new Pac-12 that is going to look so wild and different. Get this: Boise State, Oregon State, Fresno State, Utah State, Washington State, Texas State. Yeah, they do have a Texas State. Colorado State and Oregon State are going to be maybe one of the most odd football conferences in the country. But then one thing to keep in mind, the Pac-12 adds Gonzaga for basketball. Hey, basketball-wise, that Pac-12 is going to be legit. But Boise returns 12 starters. If they can survive that opener against Oregon, and I'm not saying win, if they can survive and not get the entire roster murdered, then they should be able to run the table probably the rest of the way, and that would at least put them in the hunt. All right, Rob. Last year, Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza came out of absolutely nowhere to win the Heisman Trophy. Is he weird? Yes. Is he kind of a Latin autistic Jameis? Yes, of course he is. But he won it, and he was really, really good. Rob, who are your contenders for the Heisman Trophy this year?
Yeah, because of that, I went kind of deep on here. I've got 6 contenders and a champion.
All right.
I can make a semi-case for any of them, and I'll start with guy we mentioned before, Josh Hoover, Indiana.
Yeah.
I think it's a talented kid, and again, he's going to be in a system with a team where he doesn't have to do a lot, so I think he has a chance to put up some really good numbers here. So that's going to be my first contender for you.
I like that pick a lot. If Indiana can find a stable tight end for him, look out, because Curt Cignetti is going to make him a much better player. Yeah, I agree with that one. Who do you have next on your Heisman contenders?
Next one, the guy you mentioned before, Darian Mensah, Miami. I think, again, Miami's going to be good. We kind of talked about that schedule. I think he's probably better than Beck.
He might be.
And, again, better athlete. So we get, not just a throw-in. Accuracy, probably lose a little bit in accuracy maybe, but make up for it just with his, rushing as well. So that's a guy I could see having, a pretty good season and being in talks towards the end of the year.
And less crazy eyes than Carson Beck, who you mentioned earlier. So that's going to be nice as well. Who is your next Heisman contender? I have got 4 contenders, and I bet we're going to have a few of the same here. Who's your next one?
Next one, another person we talked about before is Arch Manning. Yep. Again, I know that schedule is tough, but like I said, I think just a lot of that, that hype was just because of his name and didn't actually give him a chance to get into it. So I think he has a better season. I think he puts up big numbers. Ultimately, I don't think he wins it all, but I think he's in the conversation this year.
He is going to put up big numbers. He's got the big name. He threw for 3,200 yards last year and 26 touchdowns, and we kind of looked at him like, what's wrong with him? He's going to be really, really good. But like you said, that schedule might be tough, and because of that, he might not win the award. You lose a few. They don't always like that. I got him as a contender as well. Who's your next contender?
Next contender, Julian Sayin, Ohio State. He's thrown to the best receiver in the country. So just because of that, like I said, I don't know how much of that is him and how much is that is Smith. But like I said, I expect him to put up big numbers this year. So I think he'll be in the conversation as well.
I do too. And I think he's going to be better than he was last year. I felt like last year it took him a few games to kind of really feel comfortable in that offense. I think he's going to come out smoking this year. Julian Sayin should be very, very good. I actually have his teammate, wide receiver Jeremiah Smith, as one of my Heisman contenders as well. Like you said, Sayin's going to be better. Smith's going to be better. My only issue with putting Jeremiah Smith on there, he is so talented, but he's a wide receiver, and we know Heisman voters don't like to do that. So I know he probably won't win it, but he's a contender. Who is your next contender, Rob?
Next contender, C.J. Carr, Notre Dame quarterback. Again, the schedule play. They don't play anybody. I think BYU and Miami are really the only 2 games on the schedule. But again, this is a guy, obviously they lost production at running back, so I think they're going to sling it a little bit more. So I think this is the guy that's going to have big numbers at the end of the season. I
do too. And you mentioned guys that are going to win. Who's going to win? Who's going to be on top? That we know that's how the Heisman's going to go. For that reason, I'm going to give the Heisman to C.J. Carr. I think they're going to give it to him because I think Notre Dame has such a soft schedule that he's going to be like, well, I'm the top quarterback on the top team, so I guess I win it, and that's how the Heisman works, which means I have one last contender, and Rob has a contender and a champion, or just your champ?
No, contender and a champion.
Okay, who's your final contender?
Final contender for me, Dante Moore,
Yep.
Oregon. Again, came back. Just again, like we mentioned, that just kind of chip on the shoulder. I think he's better, obviously more experience. Expect him to put up good numbers as well, except for in the Ohio State games. So yeah, give me Dante Moore.
Okay, and he's my final contender. Same thing. I look at him. He's going to be one of the top quarterbacks on the top team. The problem for him is he's going to be playing in some big games. He's going to have to step up and, hey, the table is set for him. Go win it. But he's got a tough schedule to do that in, which means, Rob, your winner is going to be who?
Gunnar Stockton, Georgia. Again, SEC, like I said, I expect Georgia to have, because of that schedule, is a little light. You know, this is going to be your champion from the SEC. And the quarterback on that team is going to get a lot of the praise here. So yeah, give me Gunnar Stockton.
Okay, I like that pick. All right, Rob, we're getting serious now. It is time to get down to brass tacks, as they say. We are going to roll through our top 12 college football playoff. Who are the playoff qualifiers? We're going to give them to you right now. You don't even have to watch the season. We'll just tell you who's going to win it. Rob, who is your number one team in the country?
Number one overall, Georgia Bulldogs.
All right. Rob goes with Georgia at the number one spot. I have got Oregon at the number one spot. Might be a little too high because I think that schedule is just going to be a little bit tough. All right, Rob, who do you have at 2?
2, Big Ten champion, Ohio State.
All right. At 2, I have got Rob's Georgia Bulldogs. So we're just kind of flipping some things around there. Who do you have at number 3, Rob?
It continues. I've got Oregon. They're playing great. They just 2 close losses to Ohio State, but because of that, they keep a high ranking. So number 3 team, Oregon.
I've got at number 3, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Rob, who do you have at number 4?
Number 4, Notre Dame Fighting Irish for me.
Once again, we just have the same teams. We just kind of mixed them up a little bit. At number 4, I've got the Miami Hurricanes ACC champion for the first time, by the way. All right, Rob, who do you have at number 5?
Number 5, ACC champs, Miami Hurricanes.
My goodness, it's just absolutely scary. At number 5, I actually have the Ohio State Buckeyes, so I just have them slid just down a little bit. Rob, who do you have at number 6?
Number 6 for me, runner-up in the SEC, Texas Longhorns.
All right, at number 6, I have Big 12 champion Texas Tech. At number 7, Rob, who is your team at 7?
Number 7, same as you just said, champions, the conference, Texas Tech, number 7.
At number 7, I have the Texas Longhorns. So we literally just switched those. They're the exact same ones. At number 8, who do you have?
This team missed out on their conference playoff, but they were right there in the mix. They still get in. Your defending champion, Indiana Hoosiers, number 8.
At number 8, I've got the Indiana Hoosiers. Number 9, Rob.
Number 9, this is my sleeper team in the SEC because of the conference. Obviously, they get in as well. Give me the Oklahoma Sooners at number 9.
Interesting. At number 9, I've got Big 12 runner-up BYU. So, yeah, we're going to have some similar things here. At number 10, who do you have?
Number 10, surprisingly, another ACC team gets in.
Okay.
So the runner-up to Miami. Give me Louisville, number 10.
All right. And at number 10, I have got the Oklahoma Sooners. So we got them same teams in eventually. Just kind of mix them up a little bit. Number 11, Rob. Now we're getting down to the scary ones. Who do you have at 11?
Number 11, this team sneaks in. I mentioned them earlier. This is a scheduled play here, but they do enough to get in. Give me Penn State, number 11.
Ooh, can you imagine if Penn State got in after James Franklin is gone? Number 11, I've got Lincoln Riley winning the first thing ever, and he actually gets his USC Trojans into the college football playoff, which leaves me with just one team left. Rob, who is your 12?
Number 12, this was my auto bid. James Madison, Sun Belt winner. So they get in on the auto bid, the number 5.
All right, they get the number 5 conference at large, and I went with the same thing. At number 12, I've got the Boise State Broncos getting into the playoff. All right, Rob, we're going to roll through these really, really quickly. I've got your schedule going here. Your games in the first round would be your 8 and 9 would be Indiana versus Oklahoma. Is that correct?
Correct.
And your winner would be?
This is a close one. Goes down to the wire. I went back and forth on this, but Indiana gets it done by a field goal. Moves on.
All right. In my first game, I have got Indiana versus BYU, and Indiana also gets through there as well. Your next game up is your 7-10 matchup, which would be Texas Tech versus Louisville, I believe. How's that game going to go, Rob?
That's correct. This, again, I think Louisville hangs in there. It's closer than most people think, but ultimately the talent gets by. Give me Texas Tech to advance.
All right. And in my 7-10, I've got Texas and Oklahoma playing in an SEC matchup, and I am going to move Oklahoma past. All right. You have your 6-11 matchup, which is going to be the Texas Longhorns against the Penn State Nittany Lions. All right. Who do you have coming on top in that?
Penn State made it. They're ecstatic, but it just turns out the same. Blown out by Texas. Texas advances.
All right. I have got Texas Tech playing USC in my 6-11, and USC actually wins a game and advances. They go on to the quarterfinals. We have one final game, our 5 versus 12. Rob, you've got Miami versus James Madison. How's that going to go?
James Madison is leading going into the fourth because it is Miami. Miami figured it out. So squeaks past. Miami advances.
That would be spicy. I got to be honest with you. All right, Rob, we are moving on to the quarterfinals, and I believe in your first game, you would have Georgia versus Indiana, your 1 versus 8. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Who's coming out on top?
This is a good game. Give me Georgia here. Pulls away late. Close all the way, but ultimately Georgia moves on.
All right, in my first round game, I have got Oregon versus Indiana, and Oregon moves on. We've got 4 quarterfinal games total, so we've got 3 more. Rob, you have in your second game, I believe you have Ohio State versus Texas, maybe?
Or Ohio State versus Texas Tech.
Texas Tech, my bad. Okay, Ohio State, Texas Tech. Ohio State's got to be feeling good in this matchup, don't they?
They do. That bye week helped. They come out, lead wire to wire. Give me Ohio State to advance.
All right. In my second game, I have got Georgia versus Oklahoma, and Georgia is going to advance. Number 3 game, Rob, you have got Oregon versus Texas. Is that correct?
That is correct. This game, the byes are helping. Oregon advances over Texas.
All right. My third game is I've got number 3 Notre Dame versus number 11 USC. I know they don't want to play it, but they're going to play it again. I've got Notre Dame advancing in my third quarterfinal game. We come down to our final quarterfinal game, which is our 4 versus 5, which, Rob, I believe is Notre Dame versus Miami for you. Is that right?
That is correct.
And who's coming out on top?
Notre Dame. Say it should have been us last year. They prove it.
Oh, boy.
Notre Dame advances.
I've got Miami versus Ohio State in my 4-5, and I've got Ohio State advancing. All right, Rob, we get down to the semifinals. You have got Georgia versus Notre Dame. Who is coming out on top of that?
This is a good game, but give me Georgia to advance to the final.
And in your second game, you have got Ohio State versus Oregon meeting for the third time. Is that correct?
Third time. Oregon lost the first 2, but turns the tables, upset.
Oh, wow.
Oregon advances to the final.
In my semifinal, I've got Oregon versus Ohio State. I have Ohio State advancing, and Georgia versus Notre Dame. I have Notre Dame advancing. I've got Ohio State versus Notre Dame matchup. Rob has a Georgia versus Oregon matchup. Rob, people can say they heard it here first. We already know the answer. Who's going to be our national champion when this is all said and done?
Georgia is the favorite. The SEC thinks we finally break the streak, but they do not. Oregon, your national champion.
Oregon comes out on tops and win it all. I've got Ohio State versus Notre Dame. Rob, I hate to do this. I have got Notre Dame winning a national championship. I don't know if that'd sit well with me. I feel like that might make me physically ill, but Hey, it absolutely could happen. Rob, the college football landscape, it's kind of weird right now. We're hearing this stuff about, hey, maybe some kids that already graduated and played pro ball or whatever, they might be able to come back, and it's all kind of weird. And like you said, the NIL stuff and people transferring, it's kind of weird. But like we just talked about, there's no shortage of talent. There's no shortage of really good teams. And some of the matchups we're going to get, I want everything to get cleaned up, but it's still highly, highly entertaining.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like I said, NIL, they have to kind of fix it and straighten it out. But again, one thing it has done, spread out that talent across the country, like you said, which makes for great matchups and, what's going to be a great playoff, whoever gets in.
Yeah, we're going to have some really, really fun games, and it's going to be a really, really exciting season. I just hope they can clean some of this nonsense up so we can just get kind of a more, playing field that makes sense. And more importantly, make it better for the fans, because I do hate that we're just cheering for laundry right now. And that's all we're doing right now, because kids are bouncing around so much. Coaches are bouncing around so much. It just makes it really, really confusing for the fans. And if it's not for the fans, I got bad news for everybody. And none of this is going to happen, because the money's going to run out really, really quick. You've got to make sure you take care of your fans. Rob, the NFL is rolling through the preseason, which is not very fun to watch. But, next week, it's that time of year already. We might need you to stop by. In fact, maybe next week, maybe even the week after, and help us get ready for the NFL too. Are you up for that task?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's that time of year. Like you said, I'm going to be locked in a couple weeks from now in front of the TV all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Yep. So I'm locked in. I'm ready to go. Well,
Rob, at some point, we're going to make you make the trip up north, and we're going to have to bring you up here, and you're going to have to watch some games up here with us. But we'll feed you well if that is the case. But Rob, I want to thank you for all your contributions to the Daily Dose. So many that people don't know. There are so many times that I have a guest or I have something going on, and I'm like, Rob, I need to pick your brain about whether or not I should do this. Always giving good feedback, always finding the stories that no one else can find. Rob, I can't wait for college football, even though it's crazy. I am looking forward to games, even though it's a little bit minimal this weekend. But Saturday, we already get games, and I am here for it. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to you coming back next week and talking some NFL too.
Absolutely. See you next week.
Hey, next week on the Dose, like I said, the wait is over. We have some college football this weekend, and next weekend, we are going to be bringing you our 2026 NFL preview. At least we're going to be starting it. We've got so much to get to. That might take us a couple of weeks to get through it all, but the NFL is coming quickly, and we will have you ready for it. So be sure you check out the Dose, and be sure you let a friend know to do the same. Hey, I want to say thank you so much to Big Rob for all that you contribute to the Daily Dose, and I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for listening to the Daily Dose every week. Thank you for the emails, thank you for the texts, thank you for the tweets, but more than anything, thank you for sharing the show, for sharing the videos, and for sharing the articles with someone that you know. We absolutely love it when you do that. Have to say thank you to JSP. Could not do any of this without you. I will see you all next Wednesday. Have a great week, everybody.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.